I'm sure I'm not the only runner who feels relief when I get to the end of Hangar on a good pace, even though it's not the final stage. I mean, the last stage is pretty straightforward, and while it is technically possible to screw up, let's be honest, it's not likely to happen. See, when you get to the end of Hangar, you know all the hard work is finished, and all you have to do is keep it together and not make any stupid mistakes until the end. Hangar is also the most RNG heavy stage. Unfortunately, bad RNG won't necessarily kill the run, it'll just slow you down a little. Having said that, we have a very important question to answer. What is the fastest time that you can finish Hangar?
Challenge accepted.
Before we begin, let me clarify what I mean by RNG, because, well, maybe RNG is the wrong word to use. What I'm really talking about is global timers. Let me explain. The Hangar's gimmick, for lack of a better word, is claws. Now in some cases the claws drop down when you get near enough. In other cases, in 3 cases I'm going to be discussing in this video, they are triggered by global timers. These global timers initiate at the moment you power on the console. Now I'm not going to go too deep into global timers beyond how they affect this stage, because it's a topic that deserves its own video. Alright, let's start the run. We're going to start by dropping down here. Yes, technically if global timers are good to you, you can make it through the claws on top without slowing down, but you're going to come short later on in the stage. Just trust me, we want the global timers to favour the bottom route. Now notice in the screenshot how close the claw behind me is to my back. That's what we want to look for. We want the claws to be chasing us rather than lifting out of our way. Now the next part is a little tricky. We need to run onto the trolley and then jump just before falling off the end. Trolleys are actually very useful to us in that they give us a little boost. The longer we stay on the trolley, the longer the boost. Now if you're wondering, there's actually 4 trolleys we use on the stage. We want to run to the edge of this platform before jumping. If we do this correctly, we'll avoid getting shot by that troll. Now we button mash him to death before jumping across the 2 spike walls. We will end up landing just before the next ledge no matter what we do. This is one of the only 2 places where there is slowdown that is a tiny amount. Jump as soon as you can and run and go through the next 3 spike walls. Again, we'll drop down because otherwise we have to stop to kill 2 spike walls. Now this is the second set of claws triggered by a global timer. If the global timer is on our side and we did everything before correctly, we should be able to just run through. Now, you see that trolley there? We need to get onto it. The problem is, if we jump, we'll instantly get killed by the claws. Fortunately, if we jump just before we touch the trolley, Bill literally just steps up onto it. Now, this might sound really difficult, but it's actually not that bad, and to be honest, I hardly ever mess it up. Pro tip, keep aiming down on the way to the trolley. That way, if there's any trolls, you can kill them without destroying your trolley. Now the next part is real tricky, because we need to jump off that trolley onto the next ledge without slowing down, and the gap is big. To do this, we need to run to the very edge before we jump. It's not an easy jump, and it will take practice. As soon as we hit that ledge, we need to immediately jump again, and on our way down, we need to shoot at the carrier. Now it's very important that we don't shoot too early, otherwise we won't be able to pick up the barrier. As soon as we land on that ledge, we need to drop down. If we've done this correctly, we should actually land ahead of the trolley. Landing on the trolley will result in some time loss, as the trolley is actually moving us backwards now, and we end up standing in the same position, but the point is it's a time loss. Even if done perfectly, we will actually lose a tiny amount of time here because we hit the wall and the doorway is quite small, but there's not much we can do about it. Immediately start running again through the doorway and up and over the next 2 ledges. Drop down into the trolley and run off. Now we run through the doorway, the next trolley, and probably a bunch of trolls. Another pro tip, kill that standing troll above you. It will help prevent lag from too many trolls on the screen at the same time. Anyway, we jump over the next gap onto the trolley waiting our arrival. For a frame perfect run, you'll want to actually land on the first pixel of the trolley to maximize the amount of time you spend on it. Run off the edge and straight through the claws trying to kill us. It won't matter because we still have the barrier. After jumping up 2 ledges, we should be able to run through the first spike wall. Let me say that again. If we did everything perfectly from the moment we picked up the barrier, then it should actually last until just after we've run through the first spike wall. Now at this point, almost every runner has to stop for a frame or 2 to shoot the next 2 walls, but if your button mashing is good enough, and it has to be phenomenal, you can actually get through without slowing down. Dropping off this ledge, we run straight through the 2 doorways and up to the final set of claws triggered by global timers. If we have done everything perfectly up to this point, we should be able to run under the first 3 claws, stopping under the 4th. Now this is the 3rd and final time we need to stop, albeit for a tiny amount of time. For a frame perfect run, we need to start running as soon as we have space, and we can actually start moving before the claw is fully out of our way. There's a surprise spike wall at the end of these claws, but that shouldn't be a problem if our button mashing is half decent. 3rd pro tip, you can actually fit between the last claw and the wall. It's not even a frame perfect trick. Come to think of it, I'm not sure how that would help you in a run. Oh well, anyway, let's get on to the last section before the boss. Now this part is maybe the most notorious part in the entire game. There's a lot of places trolls can spawn and they can all potentially fire at you. Now as soon as we're through the first door, we're going to duck to avoid getting shot. We're going to run through the first shielded troll. We need to jump to avoid getting shot by the next shielded troll, jump on the ledge and keep jumping to avoid more trolls and bullets. All that's left is the boss. Now be honest, this is the easiest boss in the game. You can literally run right up to the door and button mash your shield to death without worrying about getting hit. Of course, if we want to do this optimally, well, there's a trick to it, and it involves dealing as much damage as we can before we even reach the door. As soon as the last shielded troll is dead, if you need to, I recommend shooting down to get good spread rhythm. But we're going to jump twice. Once right here, and once more immediately afterwards. See, the problem is that the shield above the door is positioned in a less than ideal way. If we shoot while running, we'll be too low, and if we shoot at the peak of our jump, we'll be too high. Good spread rhythm is essential here. If we do it right, then when we get to the door, the boss should actually die almost immediately. Before I give you the final time, I want to take a moment to talk about trolls. Now trolls in this stage can spawn in very tricky places and in numbers great enough to actually slow the game down. Now there are technically safe strats to avoid trolls, but these tend to cost time. So for the sake of this video, I am going to assume that you don't get a single bad troll spawn. I'm also obviously assuming perfect global timers for the claws. After all said and done, the fastest time that you can complete Hanger is 1 minute and 5.09 seconds. That is my final conclusion. Case closed. As usual, if you think I've missed anything, or if you think I've gotten anything wrong, please let me know. Thanks for all the support, thanks for watching, and remember, don't stop shooting.